Hello. Hello. Hi. Welcome. I'm really glad you're here, because tonight we get to talk dirty. Woo! I get to talk dirty with a tall man next to me, a towering figure in the detergent industry.
I've never been called that before.
The Mr. Clean for this age, for the 21st century. The man to my right is crazy, by his own admission. He's been quoted that way in interviews, that he likes to take on crazy challenges. I just found out that at one time he was a professional sailor and actually made it as an alternate to the Sydney Olympics. He doesn't do that any longer because Adam Lowry had better things to do in some ways over the past 10 years. He built this little company called Method that in the past decade went from 0 to $100 million in sales and in revenues and growing, which is awfully impressive when you realize that he and his partner Eric, went into an industry that is not particularly sexy, even though it's, we're talking dirty, low margins. I'm like, oh my God, really, truly, low margins. This is not a sexy industry. You make money on volume. You make money by dominating supermarket shelves. You make money by galvanizing consumers with a brand and then having generations of people use that brand. How many of you had Tide when you were growing up in your household, or all, there you go, or all, or any of the big brands that we know of? And yet, two guys with an idea that they said, you know what, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way to do a function that every single person on the planet has to do every day, which is clean stuff. There's got to be a better way to do that without polluting our waterways, without having toxic waste, without creating hazardous chemicals and having to put skull and crossbones on the products, despite the fact that we keep them under our sinks at the reach of very small children. There's got to be a better way. So he's the kind of guy, Adam Lowry is, that doesn't just wonder about how to solve the problem of plastic in the ocean. He goes, you know what, there's got to be a better way. I think we can do it. I'm just crazy enough to do this. And the fact that I have a degree in chemical engineering from Stanford gives me the credibility to go out and do that, gives me the smarts to go out and do that, gives me the fact that I kind of get really turned on by molecules and technology and chemistry to, you know,
it really is.
It's bubbles,
it's sad.
right? It's sad. It's sad, but he gets turned on by that, and he's going to go solve it. And so he goes out, he and Eric do, and they come up with a bottle made from 100% post-consumer waste that also contains 25% plastic from the ocean. This is good. This is really good. Because what that means is that he's showing people that the pollution solution lies in using the waste we already have, and that we can do a closed-loop solution to the waste problem. But let's go through a little bit of history, because really, truly, I mean, I could tell you some other facts, kind of like reading the back of the package on all of those chloropolyethylene, you know, the things. That's not what Method has in it. But, you know, he's a guy who, chemical engineer from Stanford University, also an environmental scientist, worked as a climate scientist at the Carnegie Institute, developing software products for the study of global climate change. Well, he's done this. He's at the Aspen Institute, but still, he went into soap. He he's got a degree from Stanford, and he went and told his parents, you know what, Mom and Dad? I'm going to make soap.
And can I have some money?
I'm going to have some money. Isn't that cool? I'm going to go up against Procter & Gamble, and I'm going to make some soap. So what did they really do? Well, they have this clean idea in 2000, and they go, yeah, we can do stylish, eco-friendly products made with non-toxic ingredients that clean like heck and smell like heaven. 2001, Method's actually born. They sell 4 products, count them, 4 products into Molly Stone's, which is one store of a local chain right down here in Burlingame, California. Boy, they're on their way. But 2002, aha, design comes into the picture. They come up with a package design innovation, and somehow, through their powers of persuasion, convince Target to test these products, these new sprays and designs, in 90 stores. Within 7 months, it's launched nationwide in Target. 2003, they come up with a hand wash in its soon-to-be iconic teardrop bottle. You know that one. It's so pretty. It sits on your shelf. You like it. Puts all the other detergent bottles to shame, and they hang their heads. They cannot compete. And it quickly becomes one of Method's most popular products. 2004, a XXX laundry detergent is launched in the US market. Super concentrated, another great bottle design. 2005, not satisfied with dishing the dirt in the US, Method launches in Canada and the UK. 2006, 6 years, actually 5. They're named the 7th fastest growing private company in the US, and PETA names Eric and Adam Men of the Year. Men of the Year, people. 2007, be still my heart, 2007, they're one of the founding B corporations, formally making social and environmental change a centerpiece of their culture and their mission. Fantastic. 2009, they become one of the first cradle-to-cradle endorsed companies, and now, drum roll, Method has the most C2C endorsed products of any company in the world, with 60 certified products and counting.
It's 80 now.
What? 80.
It's 80.
80. God, it's growing.
Well, you said it.
That was like 4 seconds and it grew, right? Man, thank you.
Clearly, we got to update some information. So.
That's right. Get that website
Yeah,
updated,
exactly.
please. In 2010, they launched a detergent with smart clean tech, patent pending, plant-based, laundry detergent, handheld pump bottle. No more pouring, no more soap powder all over the floor. You pump. Oh my God. Now they do that and they take on more dirt in 2 countries. Countries where people are pretty fastidious about their clothes, France and Japan. And since there isn't a whole lot more information on their website about what they've done in 2011, other than this is their 10th anniversary, I am now going to turn it over to Adam Lowry.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. You sure you don't want to just keep going? Well, I think you can do this better than I can. Thanks for having me, you guys. I'm going to jump around a little bit because that's a little bit the way my brain works. I want to start by actually talking about design, and then I'm going to get into a little bit of the history of the company and how we put that design thinking to practice. I think design is the most confusing word in the English language. And I'm going to start this talk with the ambitious and perhaps foolish exercise of trying to define it. I think if you ask what is design, if you ask 5 people, you get 5 different answers. I believe that design has the power to change our world, but only if we understand it first. About a year ago, I was invited to a conference that was put on by New Zealand Trade and Industry down in Auckland called Better by Design, and this is a conference where they bring in CEOs from far and wide and they talk about design. And I was the fourth person on the agenda, and it was about a 4-day agenda with dozens of speakers. And the 3 speakers before me all tried to define design, and that was one of the things that I wanted to do. I was really intrigued by this. Is there like a cat in here? Or what was that? Yeah. All right. I'm just going to keep going.
Design is an exciting subject.
Yeah. Wow. That's out there, I guess. So when people think about method and they think about design, this is normally what they think about. They think about vibrant colors, beautiful forms, pretty packaging. And I hate that definition. I think far too often people confuse design and aesthetics. We all know that. And they use the word in very strange ways. I think that this visual representation is a critically important component of design, but it is not design itself. A couple of other, I don't really have a great definition myself. I have a couple of friends and people that I've worked with that have different definitions that I think are more meaningful. A friend of mine, Bill McDonough, he's one of the Cradle to Cradle authors, says that design is the first signal of human intention. He says that design is about intention. Herbert Simon said that the designer is anyone who devises ways of changing existing situations to preferred ones. I like that because inherent in preference there is judgment and vision and wisdom. And so with that type of framing about what design means, at least to me, the question becomes, what do you intend to do? What is your vision? And that's what I set out to do when I started Method, is to find a way to kind of redesign business so that it could create positive change in the world. I also believe the definition of design is changing over time. I'll use this example. I want to contrast 2 products for you. Macintosh or Apple. This is obviously just the most lauded example of great design. You can't go anywhere without people talking about the beauty and the function of Apple products, and I'm a big believer myself. But I often have this sentiment, and this is a sentiment that's shared by other people, that they wish that there was more sustainability with these products. If you consider that there are 50 million tons of e-waste thrown away in the world every year, that is the same weight as 100,000 fully loaded 747s of e-waste that's thrown away every year. What you realize is that some of the examples that we use to talk about great design are beautiful and functional, and they're great examples of design in the present tense. But they're not so great in the past, in the future tense, meaning they're great today, but they're not really considered where they came from or where they're going to go when you're done with them. Contrast that with a really mundane example, the carpet that I walk on every day in our offices in downtown San Francisco. This is a carpet that's beautiful and functional as a carpet in an office that we walk on, but it's made out of 2 materials, both of which are recycled from old carpets. And when we're done with this carpet, we're going to send it back to the manufacturer. They're going to take those 2 materials apart and make new carpet out of it. So here you have a product that's a very different type of product. It's beautiful and functional today, but it also is in the past and the future tense. In other words, I think design is changing, and design is becoming bigger than what we really understand design to be. What I think is really interesting about this is what it means for who the designer becomes, and that's what I'd like to spend some time talking about that. Before I go there, though, I want to give you a little bit of background, a little bit more of the story behind where Method came from to provide a little context about how we use this definition of design and how we integrate it into how we do business. So as many companies do, our company started with the frustrations of its founders. Eric is the guy there on the right. He comes from an advertising and branding background. He's a brilliant brand marketer. He understands the soul of brands and what they communicate to people sort of better than anyone I've ever met. He was looking at consumer categories and saying, why why aren't there interesting brands in every consumer category? I, on the other hand, had a much dorkier background, as you've heard about. I was a climate scientist at the time. The easiest way to think about what I did making software products for the study of climate change is if you've seen Al Gore's movie. I made the charts for Al Gore's movie. That was basically like what my job was. And I was working on things like the Kyoto Protocol of 1997, and I was really interested in the science and really geeking out on this stuff. But I got really frustrated by a couple of things. The first was that as a climate scientist, I was preaching to the converted. I was writing scientific articles in journals like the Journal of Biogeochemical Cycles. You can look it up. And I was writing these articles only for an audience of already concerned environmental scientists. So it didn't seem like there was much point to that. And then this is in the late 90s. As a green consumer at the time, every brand I patronized asked me to make a sacrifice. The core proposition of the brand was, the earth is dying, you need to save it, so buy this inferior product that smells bad, doesn't work, costs too much, have to hide it away, as your penance. And I just couldn't think of a brand that had ever been successful based off of a core proposition of sacrifice. And so Eric and I kind of brought these two ideas together and said, hey, what if we bring this deep sustainability and high design, this style and substance together? Maybe we can do something with it. We started looking specifically at the cleaning category because it was a sea of sameness. Picture of the shelf from 10 years ago. To be honest, it doesn't look a lot different than this today. All of the brands were very similar in their proposition. There was a lot of shouting, whammo, new and improved, a lot of pine and lemon set, no real differences. We also started to make a couple of observations. The first was that this cultural trend of a lifestyling of the home, or people spending more time thinking about those things and curating the things that they have in their home, was really starting to become a big deal. The second observation that we had is that we pollute when we clean. It didn't take much research to look into the chemistry of cleaning products to realize that what we were cleaning with was dirtier than what we were cleaning up. And so from that, this idea of people against dirty was born. We wanted to be a business and a movement of people that was about people more than it was about dirt, and it was about changing the way that we do business in these ways. Some of the ways that we continue to try to do this is by bringing a little bit of fun to things that aren't fun. Fun is really scarce when you're talking about the household chores. We have pictures of naked people. That was revolutionary 10 years ago in the cleaning business, and actually still is. Just ask Matthew. And we started asking some questions about the relationship between people in their homes. That we would ask questions, or we would come up with things like, you may not know what your bathroom tile tastes like, but your children do. And those types of realizations led to this idea that, hey, there's not much of a line between ourselves and our homes. And it was with that idea that the method revolution was born. The crazy, stupid idea to let's go ahead and take on 7 competitors that are each individually thousands of times our size and control the market, don't want us to be around, and all right, let's go ahead and do it. So with that, the revolution was born, but it didn't exactly start with a big bang. It started in this office. This is above a bridal boutique on Union Street, 200 square feet. This is where we designed our first product, and it's where we spent almost all of our money building a tool to create a custom shape for our first set of those 4 spray cleaners that Susan mentioned earlier. That was our first sale to Molly Stone's in Burlingame. Since we spent all our money on that first bottle, we didn't have any money for photographers or for models. So that's Eric shooting the product photography. We thought it would be a great idea to bring photography into a cleaning product, which is something that hadn't really been used. It was really interesting, premium. There we are shooting that. I forced Eric to pay his girlfriend at the time, the woman there in the picture, $1 as a model release because I knew it wasn't going to last. Indeed, it did not. And but I hear she went to work for Google and is now a very wealthy woman. So good for her. Yeah, we didn't have a sales force, so we sold the old-fashioned way. This was literally how we would do it. This is a picture in action. One of the last times I wore a tie, and those were our original 4 spray cleaners. We put them in a bag, and imagine doing this. You would walk into a grocery store at 6 o'clock in the morning, grab the store manager, and just start pitching. Here's why you need my product. Here's why you got to take it. This is why it's great. Blah blah blah, and grocery store managers are among the busiest people I've ever seen. And so we got kicked out of a lot of grocery stores for over a long period of time. But we kept persisting, and eventually we had a success. And it was at Molly Stone's in Burlingame. This is on El Camino in Burlingame. And there's kind of a funny story about this day. This was February 28th, 2001, just a little over 10 years ago now. We had been in the store a few times before with our little bag of stuff, and we went in for a checkup. And we saw the store manager, and we said, hey, what do you think, blah, 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 blah. He said, well, I've got space cut for you over on the cleaning aisle, but you got to get product here today. And we were like, oh, shit. We weren't in production. We didn't have any product. Those were all just prototypes that we had mixed up in the lab and taped on labels and that sort of thing. Like, shit, what are we going to do? So I went back up to San Francisco, or I actually went to Hayward, where our lab was at the time. Eric went back up to San Francisco. He got the keys from all of our friends we had given sample product to from their workplaces. He went to their houses. He got the half-empty bottles. I went to the lab, made up more stuff. We printed out some labels. We got funnels, paper towels, and we borrowed wine boxes from the company we were subletting that wine space, or that office space from, which was a wine company. We picked wine boxes because there were 12 in a box, and we figured we were maximizing revenue. So I picked up that invoice book on the way down from an office supply store. I still have it in my desk drawer. It's the one where you kind of handwrite and then you rip off a copy like the waiter at the diner. And it was for 68 bucks, and this was our first shelf set. Those are those 4 products. You can see my hands. You can see Eric's ex-girlfriend on the labels. And with that, we were kind of on our way. From that, we built from 1 store out to about 20 in the Bay Area, where we were doing direct store delivery. We would just get up every morning. We would put product in the back of my parents' truck, and we would drive it into the stores. We'd count bottles. We'd stuff them as full as we could. We'd move the competitors over and get an extra facing, and we'd tape stuff on the shelves. And we ran the business this way for about 9 months. We would do kind of anything that we could to get a sale. There's Eric in the wine aisle. Molly Stone's. The funny thing is, if you look closely, this is one of these little carts. It's a frame from his bedroom with just a printout of the brand. That was a window we bought at Home Depot and then promptly returned immediately after the thing. It's the one and only time I've seen my co-founder in a lab coat. And if he were here, he would tell you that he had a couple of his old ad buddy friends kind of walk by in the store and they'd be like, hey, Eric, what happened, man? Do you need some money? Or, used to be a high-flying ad guy. Now you're doing demos in the wine aisle. Yeah. So what happened, skipping a few chapters, but what happened is we built this little 20-store business, and we begged, borrowed, and stole a little bit of data, syndicated data, and we realized actually we were doing all right in these premium grocery stores. And we thought, okay, well, let's try to extend. And we thought, well, when we created this brand, we felt like this brand, class for the masses, mass premium style, all that, would be perfect for Target. And so we said, all right, we're going to go and we're going to try for the big guy, and we're going to get in Target. And it didn't go that well in the beginning. Just ignore it? Okay. This is literally the response that we got the first time we went to Target and we showed them the Method brand. They didn't like anything about it. They didn't understand it, and they told us we had a snowball's chance in hell. And so as an entrepreneur that's kind of bet your life savings on a business, you can't just pack it in and go home on this sort of thing. You've got to find a different way around. And so what Eric did actually at the time is he used some of his connections in the advertising industry to try to work his way into the merchandise or into the marketers at Target. Any of you that have worked with a big mass market retailer know that the merchants are very different from the marketeers. And we were working with the merchants, the buyers. They said no. So we're going to go to the marketers and try to get them excited about the idea of our business. And so we did that. And one of the things that we did is we really wanted to have a partner that Target really wanted to work with as a way to get them really excited about working with us. And as you guys, if you can think of that back about 10 years, this was when they were really getting into the designers and bringing designers into Target. And it was actually, believe it or not, almost 11 years to the day I was sitting in this room and when I met Karim Rashid. And he was giving a lecture. I came to the lecture. Eric and I came up afterwards. We chatted him up a little bit, and then we sent him an email about how would you like to reinvent an icon that sits on the sink of it sits on every sink in America, the common dish soap. And Karim likes big challenges too, and he couldn't resist this. So we contracted Karim to design this product, which was our first dish soap, upside down, dispenses out of the bottom, so you don't have to turn it over. And we went to Target and we put on a big dog and pony show and said, all right, let's go. The buyers had their arms crossed in the meeting while the marketers were really excited, and it was this big sort of circus. But at the end of it, we actually got a test for those 90 stores, 45 in the Bay Area, 45 in the Chicagoland area. In our infinite wisdom, we put the dish soap up on the top shelf, and of course, people had no idea what that thing was. And so what they were doing is they were taking it off, and in an effort to smell it, they're ripping the cap off of the bottom. And they're like, oh, shit. And then they would throw it back on the shelf. And dish soap, this is what it looks like when you would set it. But every time we would go in, there would just be dish soap just dripping down. And so I ended up hiring all of my unemployed friends, which I had many, and having them drive around to stores in Chicago and the Bay Area with paper towels and wipe up dish soap off of product. And we'd have to hit every store every other day in order to try to keep it like reasonably clean. Target gave us some metrics of what we needed to sell, and then they gave us the ability to see the data of what we were selling. What the metrics they gave us were a mainstream brand on price discount on promotion. And we didn't know that. This was us. We were at full price. Nobody knew about us. And so we saw how we were doing, and we weren't hitting the hurdles. And we were going in thinking, this might be bad. But fortunately for us, there was a buyer that looked a little bit deeper and saw that actually when you sold a bottle of Method, you didn't sell any less bottles of anything else. We were incremental to the category. And beyond that, we were far more profitable, because we were a premium brand establishing a premium category, or a premium within a category where no premium had previously existed. And that was when they gave us the news that we were going national at Target. And that was in middle of 2002. And that was a big moment. It's kind of funny for these two guys, Eric, my co-founder, and then this was our CEO at the time. They were jumping up and down, celebrating, all that sort of thing. Of course, the bottle that we had, we didn't have capacity to go national at Target. And they wanted to go national in 8 weeks. And so when I heard this news, I just shit myself, because I was like, in 8 weeks, the tooling for a blow mold is more than 8 weeks. For an injection mold, it's half a year. There was no way that we were going to do it. But I don't have time for that story. But to this day, I don't know how we pulled it off, but we eventually did. Since then, skipping a few chapters, we've grown the business a lot, and we've now made it through a couple of recessions, and we were named 7th fastest growing private company in America in 2006. We were actually the fastest growing company in California, and we make soap, which I think is kind of interesting. And then we were also named number 16 on the Fast 50, which is the 50 most innovative companies in the world by Fast Company. So we were pretty proud of that. And and built the business to $100 million much faster than a lot of other businesses had done it. You know, it took Nike about 18, 19 years to do it. It took Clorox many more than that. You know, as we talk about in the book that we've just published, you know, fast growth is, you know, it can be a blessing and a curse. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But back to kind of what we were doing here, you know, over the years we had started calling the way that we approach categories, started kind of calling it the method way, or method became a verb. It was about methodizing something. It was a way of kind of taking a fresh approach to a way of doing business that aligned the social and environmental interests with the interests of our business, so that as it grew, so grew our positive, not negative impacts. Today, we just call it the method. We have recently published a book on exactly this, and this is really about our 7 obsessions. It's about these are things that weren't written for this book. These are the 7 things that we believe are our true competitive advantages as a business. I'm not going to use this book as the context for the talk. I'm just going to talk about a couple of ways that we innovate and a couple of ways that we integrate design. There are a lot of deeper and more funny stories in that book. It's really a book of mistakes, and it's really a book about how, what it is it's an open source business model that we're trying to put out there, because we believe that if people can take what we've done and learn from it and build upon it, then maybe we can have more businesses in our sector or other sectors that can help us create the positive change in the world that we're looking for. So if you're going to try to use design to change the world, it seems kind of lofty, I mentioned before that I think it's really interesting what it means for who the designer becomes. You know, there is a stereotype about designers, and you know, there's even terminology about it. You know, this idea of the creative. You know, that's one that I always find so funny. It's, you know, you have to wear a black mock turtleneck to be creative. You know, I've never really believed that, and I think that in a couple of I'll show you a couple of examples about how there are many different people that many different types of disciplines that are involved in the design process at Method that you wouldn't normally think. A couple of quick examples. This is an article from the Chicago Tribune in 2003 that talks about the wastefulness of wipes. There are about 165, well, this is in 2003. I don't know what it is today. In 2003, there were 165 million pounds of wipes thrown in landfills in the US alone. Most people think wipes are kind of these, you know, fluffy, cottony sort of things. They look that way, but they're actually made out of plastic. So that's a whole heck of a lot of plastic going into landfills in the name of convenience. We thought we'd do something about this. We launched this product. It now looks a little different than this, which was the first wipe made from a biodegradable material in the mass market. What I found really interesting is in the process of making this product, some of the designers involved in making this product not only beautiful and functional, but considered across past, present, and future, were people that were engineering non-woven material. This really kind of came home to me when I was walking down this beach, which is in southwest Michigan, near St. Joseph's, Michigan. And it was late in the summer, and I walked by and I saw this. And I picked it up, and by the markings and the pattern on the wipe, I realized that this was one of our wipes, and it was sitting on this beach. And if you're a dork like me, you can look at this, and you can see that this wipe is in the first stages of biodegrading. So I could tell that this wipe had been on this beach for probably 3 to 5 days, and if I would have just put it back down and left it there, in about a month, the thing would just be part of the sand, and all the materials in it would be totally safe to be part of that beach. And that, I think, for me, really brought home this idea that there are a lot of people that need to be involved. Everyone needs to be involved, considering that what the effects of that product are in order up front to design a product that truly is beautiful across past, present, and future. Another quick example, it was mentioned before that we make almost every bottle that we manufacture out of exclusively 100% post-consumer resin. This was something that we were told couldn't be done. This is our foaming hand wash. This is one of those products that's made from exclusively from PCR. We were told that it wouldn't be high quality, it would be dark and murky, couldn't do it, yada, yada, yada. The process of getting to the point where we could create a bottle this clear, this beautiful, this clean and high quality out of nothing but post-consumer waste was one that involved going to Kentucky and installing this resin silo in a factory in Kentucky that makes our bottles for us, because we need to have a segregated supply of material separate from the virgin supply. This is very much a blue-collar thing, and I'm a big believer in blue-collar sustainability. I don't think that you can create sustainability in a business without rolling up your sleeves and getting involved in what it really means to make things. And none of the people in this picture, one of them's a quality guy, one is a procurement guy, I'm in there, there's another environmental scientist. None of these people are people that would ever be considered quote-unquote designers, but I would argue are critical components of creating design in the 21st century. One of the things that I'm also really interested in is I think that design and innovation go hand in hand. And what innovation gives you the ability to do is actually change people's minds about what products are and what they do. And by changing people's minds, you can actually create broader change in the world. Before we dive into a little bit about how we innovate, what methods innovation model is, I think it's important to understand what innovation meant or kind of means in the categories in which we compete. So I'm going to show a quick video that actually one of our advertising agencies put together years ago. This never went live, but I think captures the idea of what is the lexicon, what is the parlance of the cleaning category. Oh, do we have? Here, I'll just use this. Can you hear that?
What happened to clean? We used to know what clean was.
Can you hear that?
Water, soap, a little elbow grease. We cleaned the kitchen with the same products that cleaned our hands. Clean was familiar. Clean was something we could trust. Clean was simple. Then somewhere along the way, clean got complicated. It became more and more powerful. But in the process, clean got dirty.
Just smell the Ajax ammonia. Super strong.
We added chemical after chemical to clean, convinced the more toxins we added, the better clean became.
And where ammonia counts, Ajax means less work.
We covered surfaces with ammonia, soaked hands with triclosan, softened clothes with beef fat, and started a dangerous love affair with bleach.
2 bleaches are better than 1.
We became obsessed with odor, with shine, with sparkles, forgetting things shouldn't just look clean, they should actually be clean. We made clean triple strength, super concentrated, pine scented, and ultra bright. And in doing so, we damaged our eyes, our lungs, our skin, and our homes. We let toxic chemicals drain into our waterways and pollute our air supply. Suddenly, we had to protect ourselves from clean. Yellow rubber gloves became a staple, childproofing became $1 million industry, and the dirtiest place in the house turned out to be under the sink.
Bam! Without rinsing!
But I have the cleaning power of a giant.
Tougher on dirt. Unique kaboom!
Killing germs.
New ammonia power.
The better bleach.
What have we done to clean? Why have we made it so toxic? Why have we made it so dangerous? Why have we made it so dirty?
So clean.
Ammonia. The work top. More ammonia.
Dissolves your food.
Don't worry, I'll do it. Thanks to that.
It's time to make clean clean again. Clean doesn't have to sacrifice power for safety. Clean can remove bacteria without removing brain cells. Clean can strip grime without stripping hands. Clean can clear filth without clearing forests. Clean can be free of toxic residue. Clean can have no consequences. Clean can be clean.
So that was obviously used to kind of frame up an idea. But I think the useful part about it is it's just sort of a great historical cataloging of a lot of the things that had been used to talk about cleaning in the past. And that's a really rough cut there, but the idea is really true. It seems like since the dawn of time that cleaning has been about being more powerful, about bigger is better, about whammo power. Billy Mays, God rest his soul. Innovation, I think, in this context is confined simply to the next new nuclear ingredient that you could use to try to clean something. No one had really actually thought about the role of the cleaner within your home or a laundry detergent within your home. And the products didn't seem like they were designed for people. It was really that they were designed for this dirt. And when we first began looking at the laundry category, nowhere was it more true than in this category. Giant boxes of detergent, giant bottles and jugs of detergent. It was bad for consumers. It was bad for the environment. And we set out to change that. And when we started looking at this category, we said, okay, well, what does a truly sustainable laundry detergent look like? And it turns out that that's actually not that hard to imagine. It probably is not a detergent at all. It's probably not a liquid that gets consumed. It's probably something that lives in your washing machine and kind of gets used over and over again and gets put in an infinite sort of cycle. The technology, believe it or not, actually exists to do something, a product just like this. But the problem with it is, while it's a quantum leap forward, it would require changing the way that every person in America does laundry, not to mention the fact you'd have to sell them a new laundry machine. And so we needed an innovation that people would actually understand, something that made it easier to do the laundry, but that they would get it and could use it the way that they were currently doing it. So what we started with was what was mentioned. It was a 3 times concentrated laundry detergent. We started looking at the laundry experience. It's big, it's messy, it's wasteful. We call the laundry jug the SUV of the consumer products industry. It's like supremely profitable for its makers, but not really good for anybody else. And it was also a big dissatisfier for people. And so we launched this product. It was small, it was easy, it had a squeeze and pour cap, so it was really easy to use. And we had a really bold move, which was we were able to secure the lead-in, which is the first 4 feet of the laundry aisle at Target stores. And if there was ever a first shot in the laundry revolution fired, I think that this was certainly it. Displacing brands like Tide, the most well-known and largest consumer brand in the world, from their lead-in in one of their largest customers was certainly a big move. We also started taking this to some other customers. I call this our Where's Waldo photograph. This is from, I'm sorry this is a little cut off. This is from late 2004. The picture before, I should mention, this was in August of 2004. This was a little bit later in 2004. There's our product on the second to bottom shelf. You can see that it's obviously much smaller than the others in the set. We didn't proceed with this test for a number of reasons that you can probably see. But I think we showed Walmart a thing or two. And what was interesting is what happened next. Following the success of our product nationally, Walmart started talking to some of their other customers about laundry detergent. In late 2005, All, a Unilever brand at the time, launched All Small and Mighty with some very similar sort of language. Little bottle equals big bottle, 3X. There was some very similar advertising. The one on the left ran in August of 2004. The one on the right ran about a year and a half later. It's an interesting quote from an Unilever intern down there at the bottom of the page, which I find really interesting when in May 24th, 2007 in USA Today, Helena Misk, Unilever's marketing director for U.S. Laundry, said, "We're delighted everybody has decided to follow our lead," after Tide and the rest of the category started adopting more compacted formats of laundry detergent under pressure from Walmart and some of the other large manufacturers. And in fact, in 2008, by 2008, Walmart announced that they would sell only compacted laundry detergents in the United States, effectively forcing the entire industry to go to compacted laundry detergents. What's really interesting is here in the middle, you can see that it'll save more than 400 million gallons of water, 95 million pounds of plastic, and 125 million pounds of cardboard. Those were numbers that were nearly identical to numbers that were in our original presentation to our customers about what the effects would be of going to triple concentrated laundry detergent. I think it's important to note that while this is an important step, it's just one step. What happened here, what was really profound, is we took one of the oldest and most staid consumer categories in the world, laundry detergent, one of the most low interest that people don't think about, that hadn't really seen a real innovation since the advent of liquid, which was decades ago. And acting as a catalyst by using a better product design that was fully considered, we were able to catalyze a change in that industry in a very short period of time, in only about 3 years, to something that had these types of beneficial effects on the environment, but also on the way that people use laundry detergent. A lot of times people say, well, Adam, doesn't that suck? You guys got copied. Well, it does in one regard, but actually this is one of the things that's really different about our business model and is really part of the method, which is we want people to follow us. We want to be that catalyst for greater change. And when we do, that gives us a license to innovate again. And having built a business around being hopefully good at innovating, we did that, and we launched an entirely new product. We actually killed that laundry business altogether, and we launched a new product which is 8 times concentrated. This is, yes, it is a little funny. This is what I think about. But what was interesting about this is you can't concentrate laundry detergent 8 times the normal way. I won't get into the chemistry, but what I will say is imagine you liked your coffee really, 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 really sweet. You can put sugar in coffee only to a degree and it just settles out to the bottom. But what if you could take a tiny amount of coffee and put it on the inside of sugar? It would be much sweeter. Well, that's kind of the analogy of the way the chemistry in this detergent works. Instead of taking detergent and putting it in water, we take tiny amounts of water and put it on the inside of detergent, which allows us to concentrate it to a degree that no one else can. It also has some amazing performance benefits because it allows the detergents to go to work right away where they don't normally in a regular detergent. So starting with a core innovation of chemistry, in this case, we're able to design an entire product experience around that core innovation that had some great benefits, from a lower carbon footprint to lots and lots of more stats about the environment and things that we do with the product. But I would say the most profound thing about this product is it's the world's only one-handed laundry detergent. And that is actually a much bigger deal to people than saving 3.4 million barrels of oil. I might think about that, but to the average person, being able to hold a baby in one hand and just put 4 squirts in your laundry machine totally changes the way that they do laundry and the way they think about laundry. And to do that in a way where they know that it's considered, it's made from plant-based ingredients, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, creates a total product experience that changes their mind about what these products can be and what they can do. And then they start to seek those in other parts of their buying habits. And this is, in many ways, kind of how we create change. We don't just do it in laundry. We've done it in lots of other categories. But by being the catalyst, we can actually create an event in our categories that force our competitors to do something different, or their products will become obsolete. And if we can continue to innovate in that fashion, we actually know precisely how our business can create positive change in the world, which is something that a lot of people talk about. It's a great idea, but very few people know how to do. And eventually, maybe we will get to that cool push-button, infinitely cycled laundry machine. But if we do, we're going to get there because we're going to have designed it in a way where people will be involved in the process of helping us get there. In other words, design reverberates. It has a ripple effect. And that's something that we really think about a lot. Another thing we think about is, I often say that while that green chemistry innovation was really important to the laundry detergent, what was really key about it was that it was one-handed. I often say that technology and creativity are not the most important parts of the innovation process. Adoption is. Because if a lot of people don't use your thing, it's not innovative. It's just obscure. And so that's something that we have to constantly think about in the way that we design things for people. I'll give you another quick example. I often get the question, hey Adam, you make everything out of 100% PCR, and you do all this biodiesel stuff, you do all this great stuff, but wouldn't it be great, I can go to Rainbow Grocery and I can bring my jug in there and they'll refill my thing and off I go, right? Wouldn't that be better? And the answer is yes, it would be better. But thinking about adoption, this was a company, Restore, they're not around anymore, and they had this idea of, okay, you can buy the product and come back into the store, scan the barcode, put it in there, and it'll dump your new cleaning product in there, and off you go. It's a really simple idea, and it seems like a good idea. It's one that actually is being tested in the UK with fabric softener right now at ASDA. It's also been tried in this format, which was an Arm & Hammer product where the thing kind of hanging from the bottle there is a concentrate where you pour it in and you add water. And there's an interesting idea. You just put it in, the consumer's doing your filling for you. But none of these products have actually succeeded. And you kind of have to ask yourself, well, why haven't they succeeded? How many times have we forgotten this thing in the back of the car on the way to the grocery store? Now imagine trying to remember your empty bottle of cleaner and your empty bottle of dish soap and your empty bottle of this, all to kind of bring back into these stores. The problem with these formats is that they don't take into consideration the adoption piece of innovation. Sure, they might be a little bit greener, but without getting people to actually use them, it doesn't actually really matter. What we've done as a step, as an intermediary step, is actually launched a whole line of refills. So we've got them for laundry and dish and for cleaning products and all that sort of thing. These are pouch refills. It reduces the amount of plastic in the equivalent volume of product by over 80%. There's a lot of nice benefits to that. We take them back and we make bags out of them after we're done. But you could argue that that refill model is much easier. Or it's much, it would be much greener. That might be true, but what we've done here is we've gotten a lot of people to buy their first ever cleaning product refill. And what that gives us the ability to do is to potentially go in and try to design a system where we have a durable package and we have a system where people can refill it in store. But when we do that, we're going to do it in a way and design it in a way that it takes into consideration making it easier and more convenient, not less so, for people to do it, so that we can actually get a lot more people to adopt that, yet again, bigger innovation. And so, what's interesting, I think, about this is one small step taken well and adopted is far more powerful than what I often see out there, which is, a vision of a really cool product, but one that you actually can't get people to follow you on. You've got to get consumers and people to be part of your design and innovation process. Design also tells stories, and I want to talk about that. Every story has a villain. I mentioned the laundry jug, the SUV of the consumer products industry. A quick anecdote for you. If you take off the cap of any laundry detergent jug and you look at it, you'll see that the dosage line for a heavy load is somewhere between half and a third of the volume of that cap. That is not accidental. This is the most well-known and best-kept secret in the laundry industry is what do people do? Fill up the cap. We've done some studies on this, and over half of people do it. It's a lot more than that. But if you assume just half of people fill up the cap, then half of people are using conservatively double what they need for a full load, which means that a third of all laundry detergent used in the United States is overuse waste. And if you've got half of that category, it's a $5 billion category, you have $800 million worth of reasons not to get people to do something like a pump dispensing format. It's a dirty little secret. Huge jugs, full of mostly water. This is the portion of the talk that I really should just have Matthew come up and start giving it for us, because Matthew actually created a lot of this work that I'm now showing. But one of the things that we did here is You got to have a villain, and for us that was the jug. And we did some work around trying to create something that would be memorable, keying off of some cultural things from American culture, the Partnership for a Drug-Free America, saying no to jugs, not being a jug addict, frequently overdosing. And then we created actually some video content around this to try to just bring the personality of the brand a little bit to life as it relates to how this product is used. So I'm going to show another video here with my high-tech
It's
mic.
wash day at the Smiths. Say, here they are now, ready to get started. Laundry can be hard, but step by step, it can be manageable. To start, grab one of the large jugs. You picked a big one, and bigger is always better. Now hold firmly with one hand and gently remove the cap. Make sure to fill only to the line. Neglecting this detail could end in a sticky mess. Lastly, just put it in. The detergent. Make sure that... Oh. Now, wasn't that easy? Let's try that again. You want fantastically clean clothes? With this compact but powerful tool, it's just 4 quick pumps, and you're done. Now, wasn't that a happy ending? Uh-oh.
Yeah, not your typical laundry detergent advertising. But it's something that just kind of brings that story to life, and it kind of creates something memorable, something that can be passed along that people will share about a product that has to be used really differently, which is something that can be a really big barrier to be overcome. So the villain plays a really important part in telling the story about the product. The other thing I think that is really important about how we create stories is that they have to not just invite, but actually physically create participation. We're lucky enough that we've been able to get a lot of this. We have a lot of people that write us love letters, take pictures of themselves. I'm not sure that Cascade is getting a lot of photographs like this. She was really excited. We have, down in the bottom right, we have Dogs Against Dirty. We had a 9-year-old do that thing out of the method hand wash bottle that looks like a butterfly. I'm pretty sure that she had some help from her mom or something. But this is a really uncommon connection that we have with our consumers. It's created by the humanity that's involved in the method product experience and the brand experience. And it's really about, we kind of blur the lines between who we are and who we serve, or between us and our People Against Dirty. There's also some other ways that we've done this in really interesting ways to create participation. About, I can't exactly remember, maybe it was 18 months ago, we got a cease and desist letter from our friends across the bay, Clorox, who had created a line of cleaning products called Greenworks, which was a green version of 409. And they put a daisy on their packaging, and they had trademarked this daisy. We had been using an image of a daisy sitting in a bottle of method since about 2002. We originally did this because I didn't have any money, and I wanted to test whether the products were safe, so I tried to see how long flowers would live in a bottle of our all-purpose cleaner versus water versus Clorox bleach. And a flower will live as long in a bottle of method all-purpose cleaner as it will in a vase of water. And I thought that was pretty cool. So we've been using this photograph for a long, long time. But I think one of their lawyers didn't really notice that we had been using it. We had prior usage in legal terms, so they sent us a cease and desist letter. And what we did is to create some participation, we put the cease and desist letter online. You can actually still go to votedaisy.com and you'll see this. And then we asked America to vote who should own the daisy, Method, Clorox, or Mother Nature. You can see Mother Nature was winning at last count, which was good. And if you see the video online, you see us saying outrageous things and things like that. But what it did is it really got people to pay attention. And even to this day, if you Google search Clorox Daisy, you will see just thousands of entries of people just saying corporate bullying and why are these people trying to go after a company that's doing good things. And really getting involved in the movement of our brand to try to create some good in the world. And in this case, a little bit against the evil corporation, but maybe it was just us taking advantage of a mistake that they made. I think the other thing that's really interesting about the way that we use design to tell stories is that you have to be willing to offend. I showed this photograph earlier and joked that we use naked people. We did this in like 02 or 03. This was our very first ad campaign. And we actually had cropped this photo at the Cactus and published it in magazines. And we got an enormous outcry from people saying that they were deeply offended, that we were suggesting that they clean in the nude and all of that sort of things. They sort of completely lost the metaphor. But I think that's a really important lesson, because if you think about trying to design something for everyone, I think that's how you end up with lemon and pine scent. I think you have to be willing to polarize a little bit in order to create interest. It was something that we did with this campaign. And in particular, I wanted to call out something that we got a lot of flack for. Again, something Matthew's all too familiar with, which is there's a line in this ad that says the product is so freaking concentrated that 50 loads fits in this teeny bottle. And you wouldn't think that that would create an uproar, but it did. And it also did some amazing stuff for us, which I will, again, go to video mode.
It's The Tonight Show with Jay Leno.
Let me tell you something. There's a reason you hire a professional advertising company to help you advertise your product, to get the point of what your product is. This says, for a jug-free America, Method Laundry Detergent. The secret is our patent-pending formula that is so freaking concentrated. This is so freaking concentrated. What is John Melendez writing copy for this company?
Now that is earned media at its finest, and it's pure gold. I mean, we don't have the money to get to buy anywhere near the type of ad value that thing just got. But what we did is we created interest. We created a little bit of we were willing to step out there a little bit in a way, and it got picked up. It got noticed, and that is what's really, really important. We often joke, and this is actually a true story, that or this is true. We've done the math, and Procter & Gamble, they're about 1,000 times our size. They spend more on toilet paper for their offices than we do on advertising. So it means that we've got to be scrappy with the dollars that we use. The last thing about storytelling is the best stories are first person. This is me in the world headquarters of Target in Minneapolis, passing out samples of our laundry detergent to employees, getting in front of people. We've done many sort of similar types of viral videos about telling the story of the Method brand. I'll just share one more. Video mode. You guys like this, don't you?
Chemist at Method. You might be familiar with this. At Method, we've been working on a concentrated detergent that works on tough stains but comes in a much smaller package. We've been told some people still don't believe this 20-ounce bottle packs such a punch. So we thought we'd clarify with a few in-office Method examples. 20 ounces of tequila can turn the creative team into a mariachi band. 20 ounces of hair gel can convince our entire office that Doug, our packaging engineer, belongs on the Jersey Shore. And 20 ounces of Method laundry detergent can do 50 loads of laundry.
You want me to replay it? Yeah. The earthquake, did you guys feel the one earlier today? Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah.
Okay, so just take pity, understand, and for those of you who just have this version experience, understand that is what it's like, but it isn't the big one.
No. All right, that's short. I will play it again. I mean, the Jersey Shore part is just awesome, and you know, it really just didn't work with the earthquake and all. So let's try this again.
Oh, hi. I'm Kai, a chemist at Method. You might be familiar with this. At Method, we've been working on a concentrated detergent that works on tough stains but comes in a much smaller package. We've been told some people still don't believe this 20-ounce bottle packs such a punch. So we thought we'd clarify with a few in-office Method examples. 20 ounces of tequila can turn the creative team into a mariachi band. 20 ounces of hair gel can convince our entire office that Doug, our packaging engineer, belongs on the Jersey Shore. And 20 ounces of Method laundry detergent can do 50 loads of laundry. Convinced?
Yeah, the purpose of that video was actually to overcome the disbelief that a little bottle can do 50 loads of laundry, which was sort of the strategic reason why we did it. But obviously, it's low budge. That was him fist bumping our CEO. But it was the sort of thing where, you know, that was really Kai. Kai was one of the people that created that product, and he's speaking directly to people, and that's something that's really uncommon in the type of work that's usually put forward by companies that we compete with. Sort of lastly, I would say that all good stories also have subplots, and ours is really about sustainability. I always say I'm the green guy at Method, and well, there's more than just me, but you know, I created it, and I always say that sustainability for Method is nothing more than product quality. It's nothing more than the quality of a product you get from us and the quality of our company. And it's something that it was interesting. I was interviewed by somebody over at greenbiz.com a week or two ago, and he asked me the question, don't you find it ironic that Method has become an icon of green marketing by expressly not doing it? And I think that's sort of interesting. What it means for us is it's about really just doing it and building deep sustainability into the business as just what we do, and then providing access to people to learn about it. One of the things we do, we have 15 biodiesel trucks that run off of waste vegetable oil biodiesel that deliver about 75% of all of our products throughout the country. There's massive carbon savings of that, obviously. We've done, I mentioned the resin silo. We've done very, scrappy solar installations on the outside of trucks. Tell you that story later. We do water recapture in many of our facilities. B-Lab was mentioned before. This is something we've always done, but I think is really important. This is sort of real-time, online, transparent sustainability reporting about our business that goes beyond just our environmental practices to our responsibility practices as a business. You can go to bcorporation.net/method, see this. I mentioned we get a lot of press, and this type of subplot that we have about sustainability and providing access to people is something that, usually the press we get is really positive, but sometimes it doesn't go quite so well, but that subplot becomes really useful. This is something from a Fortune magazine CSR blog. A blogger named Avril David talked about, she read a McKinsey report and then sort of took some things out of context. And she said, Method, a maker of cleaning products, widely praised, refuses to compromise for the environment when it comes to the aesthetics of its products, right? And so we started to get a lot of backlash about this. Like, basically, she was saying, we do pretty stuff, and then we won't think about the environment when it comes to making stuff pretty. She misread what was in that report, took it out of context. But what was really interesting is Andrew Kasoy, another CSR, another Fortune blogger on the same blog, immediately wrote an article saying the article glosses over the two biggest questions and simultaneously maligns one of the most innovative companies in the sustainable business space, Method. And then yet another one wrote another rebuttal to this thing. So essentially what happened is when you had somebody kind of get the wrong information and put something out there, which often happens, by having this subplot and providing this access and transparency to people, we didn't do anything. And people kind of came to our defense, which was really a beautiful thing. One of the last things I want to talk about design on before we just kind of turn it into Q&A is the culture of Method. I think that in our book we talk about 7 obsessions. I would say the single most important one is what we call creating a culture club, or a culture that allows you to continually innovate. And for us, we often say that design is not a department, it's a culture. For us, what we've done is we've tried to elevate the work that we're doing for everyone and tie that to the higher purpose of a business. And it elevates people's work to something that becomes more meaningful for them. And they derive happiness from what they're doing at work. The way we support this is through the environment of our space. It's very open, as you can imagine. We put everything up on the walls. People call these our wiki walls. It's often really challenging for people that are working in the creative disciplines because you have to put this work that's half-baked up on the walls. But by constantly reinforcing the ways that we're trying to collaborate to make work better, we can get more people involved in the design process in a way that is additive rather than subtractive, the way that it normally is in places. We have lots and lots of things that create inspiration for us, things we've curated from around the world that we just think are cool ideas. And then we use the people to help us try to build those into bigger ideas. We do some quirky stuff. Method doesn't have receptionists. If you come to our offices, which you are all welcome to do, you'll see that the two people behind the desk usually really suck at being receptionists. And that's because they're not. What we do is, in a way, we want to be ambassadors for our brand, and we want every person to be part of that representation of the brand. And so I sit up there, everybody sits up there, and we do a rotation. 2 people every day, different people. This happens to be Asa. He's deliciously weird, and he is one of our IT guys. Obviously, we prototype a lot. We have the ability to do this in-house with equipment, and then we can take it and we can cut steel, something that we do a lot of to make new molds. So we can prototype new bottles, things that we can put in people's hands, touch, feel, squeeze, hold. We can prototype shelf sets. We can prototype photography. There's the flower in the bottle. And of course, we've got a lab where we can prototype the products as well. Essentially, what we've done is in our offices here in San Francisco, we've created all of the aspects of the product experience so that we can vertically integrate everything that defines that experience and prototype that in a way where we can manifest those products, learn from them quickly, and much in the classical design thinking sense, then iterate that many, many times so that we iterate our way to the solution. And interestingly, we also prototype our people. If you are to interview for a job at Method, if you get far enough in the process, you'll be asked to do a homework assignment. It'll have 3 questions. One's strategic, one's tactical. The last one is always, how would you keep Method weird? Keeping Method weird is one of our 5 values as a business. We believe in individuality, and we want people to contribute to the culture of the place. And being asked by 15 total strangers that you want a job from how you are going to keep their place weird can be a fairly intimidating question. But it ends up having an amazing effect on getting the right type of people into the business who really want to contribute and add to the culture of this place, which is, of course, based around our set of values. There are many. I won't go through all the values. There's another interesting one, which is what would MacGyver do? Since P&G is spending more on toilet paper than we are on advertising, we have to be scrappy and we have to be resourceful. And who better than the icon of resourcefulness, MacGyver? If you come to our offices, you'll see MacGyver in strange places all around. This is Sarah. Sarah's a consumer response person. Here she is sitting right next to our product development people, so she can just bark out what consumers are saying and what their questions are and get them answered immediately. We have a Monday morning huddle every Monday where we get the company together. We talk about everything from birthday to financial results, and it has a great way of creating an environment for people where they can share and feel comfortable. And one of the things that I think is most powerful about the effect that not just the Monday morning huddle has, but just the culture in general, is one of the best things anybody ever said to me about working at Method is a guy had said to me, he said, Adam, I'm exactly the same person at work that I am at home. And I think that that is probably the most elusive and most powerful thing that you could create in a culture. So back to this photo, back to design. I think that to wrap this thing up, what I think is most important is that as we think about the role of design in business, we think about the role of design and how it creates sustainability. We create the role of design and how it creates change in the world. We have to recognize that for the designer, it's not just about product anymore. You have to recognize that that product sits within a company that has a culture and a set of systems and ways of doing things. That company actually sits within a category, customers, competitors, all of that. And that actually ultimately sits within a culture. And it's only when the designer is thinking on this very broadest level and is able to bring all of these factors together with all of her colleagues that may or may not wear that designer hat that you can actually use design to change the world. Thank you. So should we do questions, barring any further earthquakes? I really didn't. I sort of thought that there were many times where we came really close to not making it. Before we got our first venture financing, which we needed to get because Eric and I didn't have any money, we had $16 in the bank and $300,000 in payables, most of which were on our personal credit cards. And we were on credit hold from all of our manufacturers. They wouldn't send us new product or components because we weren't paying our bills. And we were running lean on the shelves. We ultimately were able to get funding, and but there's been many times like that where it was on a razor's edge. My theory has always been, this has been like the most amazing experience of my professional career. And win or lose, you learn so much that the process itself is worth it. Right here.
How did you convince Target to give you that lead-in space? And what was the response from you? Was it tied?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it would have been a response from all of the brands. They certainly noticed, when the whole set gets moved over 4 feet and an unknown brand goes in there. What's really interesting is there's a thing called category management. This is something we talk a lot about in the book, in the consumer product space, which is where when I want to go sell to one of our customers, the person working with my buyer to create the planogram, like what products go where, is one of my competitors. And they're called the category captain, and they're supposed to be impartial. And usually they are. But essentially it means to get somebody to put us on shelf, I have to convince my competitor to take his product off of the shelf. And it creates a big disincentive. For us, what it was about was, it was really about the idea of creating a premium segment within a category that had no premium segment. And the theory was that people would pay for a superior product. One that, yeah, was green, but also was superior for a lot of other reasons, most importantly, the performance. And if we could create that premium tier, you're creating a higher dollar ring for the retailer. And so they have an incentive to make our brand succeed. And I think that had a lot to do with the way we were able to secure that type of placement. So let's go here, and then we'll go there.
I'm really intrigued by the fact that you use plastic from the ocean in some of your
wondering how that actually works.
Yeah, that's a new program for us. So you actually can't buy a method product yet. You will be able to soon, but you can't buy a method product yet that's packaged in our what we call Ocean PCR. We had a press conference a couple of weeks ago where we kind of announced that we'd cracked it and we're gonna take this to market. But what do you want to know about it?
like practically, how are there actually boats out there capturing the plastic, or can you buy it on a market, or?
No, you can't buy it. I mean, this is one of the things that's sort of crazy about it. We're creating a supply chain for junk plastic that's floating in the ocean 3,000 miles west of here, and it's west of here. But it's so we get it from a lot of places. There are a couple of expeditions that go out there and collect stuff, and we get some from them. One of the best places to get it is in Hawaii, because Hawaii sits at the southern edge of the North Pacific Gyre. So a lot of it washes up on the beaches of Hawaii. And amazingly, there's things like, I went to one of these beaches. There was a redwood tree on this beach. And there are bottles from Korea and all sorts of things. And so you can actually pick up this gyre plastic yourself. We're now working with a sort of network of beach cleanup organizations that provide the raw material, and then we mix it with PCR. Was there a question back there? Yeah.
What kind of research methods did you use to inform development of the product at their early stages when you were forming the kind of company?
Yeah, we really have the approach that we're trying to first and foremost design something that is for ourselves. Like if we don't think it's cool, like probably other people aren't going to think it's cool. From a consumer research standpoint, we're really trying to rather than using consumers to tell us what to do, we want to be led by those ideas. We want to lead the consumer, but be informed about the way they're reacting to the things that we make and design. And so often what we do is, rather than kind of doing traditional consumer research, we'll sort of audition things where there might be products, they might be concepts, they might be even marketing ideas, where we'll have an idea about what we want it to communicate to people, or what we want it to mean to people, and then we'll go test whether our hypothesis, like our design, is right for what it's communicating. And I think what's important about that is it gets around this whole idea, which people get caught up on all the time, and it amazes me, that you're never really going to get a new idea if you just ask somebody like, what should we do? Seems kind of obvious, but you'll get a lot of critiques, but you won't get a lot of new ideas that way. And so there's a lot of techniques. We do in-homes, ethnographies, stuff like that too. So there was one in the back, and then we'll work our way forward here. Is there one in the back row? No? Okay. Let's go here, and then we'll go to the one stand.
How much harder would you say it was to have a product-oriented startup than it is to have like a web startup?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
How much harder would you say it is to have a product-oriented startup than it was in comparison to a web startup?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never had a web startup, so I'm sure it's easier in some ways. Sorry? Less plastic. Yeah, exactly. I think it's easier in some ways and probably harder in others. What was interesting was we started this business when the NASDAQ was at 5,000. It was before the bubble burst, the dot-com bubble. And so nobody wanted to talk to us. And then all of a sudden, a year later, like everybody wanted to talk to us. Because our business model was like, hey, we make this bottle of soap, and our business model is, if you think we can sell a lot of it, we're probably a pretty good investment, but we're not going to make you 6 million times your money. So that's kind of worked for us, and it's worked against us in some ways. You could question the wisdom of launching into a category that has as low margins as this does. Maybe my next business will be a higher margin business. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm not sure. Let's go there, and then we'll work forward.
You said that you consider your business model to be open source. Why? Or what factors?
What factors?
Do you consider your business model to be considered open source?
Well, that's why we just wrote a book and published a book that is literally everything that we do and how we do it. Like it's there it is on the page, and it's published, So the idea with that was, it scared the shit out of our CEO. It was like, he was alarmed by it. But, for us, we really believe that the way we work is the secret sauce. And I believe that that's something that's really, really hard to replicate. You know, anything that we do, you know, sustainability, we do some amazing stuff there. The aesthetics of our products, we do some amazing work there. We do some amazing chemistry. But any of these things are things that, you know, in today's world can be readily copied relatively quickly. What can't be copied is the ability to be the catalyst, to be the first to innovate over and over and over and over again. So that's why I have a lot of confidence to just say, listen, this is how we're doing it. I also feel a personal responsibility to say, we've made a lot of mistakes, but you know, we've gotten to a reasonable place here. So why don't we share this business model, and maybe other entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs, people within businesses, can take these ideas and build them and make other businesses that exist better, or new businesses that don't yet exist better. And you know, to me, that's kind of why I started this thing in the first place. Let's go here.
So what are the criteria that you use to decide when a product is ready for market versus to just keep working on it?
Yeah, that's a good question. The question was, when is it ready for market? You know, sometimes that's dictated by when we told people we'd ship it to them. But we've gotten better about that in the last 10 years. And I think really what it's about is, this is a really awful answer, but you know, at this point you just kind of know. You just kind of know when it's good enough to be, when it's method, right? And it's got enough of an exciting experience in all of the, you know, pillars of the brand experience, you know, the sustainability, the performance, the you know, the aesthetics, the fragrance, all of that, that you can say, you know what, I can put my stamp on that.
My question actually leads a bit off of that. You guys have been, you know, taking a lot of risks, and there have been products that haven't landed in the market. So as a cradle-to-cradle company, how do you phase out of products in a conscious way?
Mm-hmm. In terms of through retail, or like if we have stuff left over?
Both. If
okay.
you have products.
So how do we phase out a product? You know, phasing one out at retail is relatively easy, actually. It's about, there are many different retail channels that we can go to. And usually what we're doing is we're just selling through products. So we'll just sell out inventory. And there's actually quite a bit. We actually have sustainability metrics in our supply chain on obsolete inventory, on things like scrap levels, and all of this stuff is tracked. Like I've got a scorecard of that stuff that I look at every 2 weeks. And so that gives me an ability to know, like, how well are we doing on efficiently using the materials that we're sourcing for our products. You know, so through the retail portion, that part is pretty easy. On some of the leftover materials part, we've actually, in some cases, created our own recycling systems for things like leftover bottles that are printed with the wrong whatever that you can't use in the market anymore, and you're not going to make more product to sell into the market. We're often using that to turn it, you know, back into bottles, selling them back, or just giving them back to our recyclers and our PCR manufacturers. So that would be a good example. In some cases, things like parts like trigger sprayers and stuff like that, we'll actually sell those into a secondary market. All right, let's go here, and we'll work back.
Are any of your products edible?
I've eaten a lot of them. You know, I'm hesitating because I don't know what the legal definition of edible is.
More specifically, is there no harm if you incidentally swallow?
Yeah, in general, no. You know, I mean, that issue of harm, you know, water can hurt you if you drink enough of it. So, you know, in some respects, it's, you know, I wouldn't recommend it. But maybe I'll give you a story. I've drank a lot of our product on Japanese television. I once got a text from Eric saying, I'm in a meeting with a reporter. He was in London. I just drank a bunch of toilet bowl cleaner to say whether, you know, to prove it would be okay. Am I going to be okay? And I texted him back. I said it wouldn't have been my first choice. And he was like starting to freak out. And I said, try the pink grapefruit. It tastes better. So,
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a really interesting viewpoint of how sustainability is, in the end, going to be kind of a subset of quality. I think would be pretty unusual in this setting. Would you mind sharing a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you sort of said it. I see quality and I see design as higher level pursuits than sustainability. And that seems really odd being the sustainability guy at Method. But ultimately, it's just about the things that we make and making them better and making them more sustainable. And so maybe the easiest way to describe it is in the context of green marketing. I think that green marketing is dead. And actually, if it's not, I want it to die. And I want it to die really quickly. I think this idea of putting a leaf or a planet on a product and saying it's the green alternative to whatever is just bullshit. A lot of people that do that do great stuff sustainably, but that actually isn't a brand. All that is saying I am a member of this category of sort of green stuff. There's nothing about a brand and a philosophy and an identity that has to do with that sort of thing. And if we're going to create the change that we're seeking, what's going to happen is every product is going to need to become more sustainable in some way. And what I believe is going to happen is we're going to move away from this sort of strange time where we're living right now where there's, in every product category, there's like the green one, and then there's the not green ones, right? I think that's going to go away. And I think ultimately what sustainability is going to do, and green and responsibility, it's all going to just start to work its way into the quality of products, just like any other aspect of quality. And you're going to have some products that are more sustainable and therefore more high quality, and some that are less sustainable and therefore less high quality. But it's going to integrate into those things, and we're going to just go back to competing on what's best. And to me, sustainability is just one aspect of being better. And I think it's a subtle but really important difference because it's about what you do, not about what you say about it.
The weirdness of people coming in and making sure that doesn't get diluted by non-weird people. But there are companies that have been around for decades who don't get that. Where did your awareness and sensitivity come from?
Mostly is actually something we also talk a lot about in the book. As we're in those really steep stages of growth in 06, 07, that sort of thing, we started to notice that the business was sort of becoming more like a big business before our eyes. And we thought, this isn't right. Like, why is this happening? And that was when we kind of stopped the presses and said, okay, we need to actually define the culture really, really well. We had a culture, but we didn't have things we could hold each other accountable to. And I actually have some cards. We have 5 values: care, innovation, collaboration, what would MacGyver do, keep Method weird. Care, innovation, and collaboration are fairly generic terms, but on each one of these cards on the back, we define 5 behaviors about what that means. And it's resourcefulness and MacGyver and seeking risk and innovation and all these sort of things. And these are things that we actually talk about on a constant basis. That Monday morning huddle is structured around, in part, around those values. And then people are measured, and people are actually evaluated around their ability to live and exemplify those values. People do that in very different ways. But I think probably the best thing we did about it is Eric and I didn't define it. We created a process where the business itself defined a culture around itself. And now it's like totally self-sustaining. We work a lot on it to keep people coming back to it because you have to practice. But now there's a million different things that happen every day at Method where you just, that are totally weird that we had nothing to do with. So.
Just as a follow-on, with Halloween coming up, do any of the employees dress up as Method bottles?
The odd thing is that it doesn't need to be Halloween. Seriously. It won't be any different on Halloween, to be honest with you. So let's go right here.
I was wondering if there's a story behind the picture that you've chosen as your last slide.
I think Eric took that picture. And it was just like, that's our office on Commercial Street, and it's just like this kind of weird dude. No, just no story. just a cool photo. Yeah, here.
Do you think that, back to the point about your culture and your the company, is that sustainable as you get larger? I mean, how does the size of Method do?
Yeah. You know, I think going from 50 to 100 was really hard. We're now about 100 people. So when we go from 100 to 200, I'm sure the challenges will be equally as difficult. I think, so I don't know the answer to that question, but I know that we've navigated that through a really difficult period. And so we have some practice on figuring out how are we going to have to adjust the techniques that we use to reinforce these values as the number of people change. So I think that'll be a really interesting next chapter. We'll see what happens. So I think there was a question here, and then we'll go back here.
So how important was Kareem Rashid to getting that second meeting and getting on the show? Do you think that could have happened if you didn't have that sort of...
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? I mean, no one knows that a lot. Yeah, I mean, you know, this was a, I think I described it in there as a little bit of a Hail Mary pass, you know. Hiring him was a Hail Mary? Well, yeah, a little, well, and kind of bringing him into Target and kind of doing this big dog and pony show was really kind of the Hail Mary pass. I mean, design is something that we've always been really passionate about. And, you know, like I said, we were admirers of Karam's work, and we did the original bottle designs ourselves, which neither of us are really designers. So from day one, we knew we wanted to get some real design horsepower in the business. We decided to go with Karam in part because we felt like, hey, here was somebody that could not only design some really cool stuff, but potentially be an entree for us with one of the people we really want to work with. All right, let's go to the woman in the red.
Well, the type of products out there that need reinventing for the better, and you've already talked about why soap, making the dirty world cleaner. But what was the day like when you said soap? That's it.
I don't remember. You know, what's sort of interesting, and it almost seems like heresy to say it, is that I think the fact that we make soap is almost a circumstance. What we're doing is we're creating a business model that creates really cool things in really not cool categories, and hopefully creates a little bit of positive change along the way. And you know, the method is about how do you extend that to anywhere. And I think that there are universal lessons that can be learned from that. So when I was frustrated as a climate scientist, I was looking, I didn't know what it was going to be, but I was looking for a way to try to use this idea of how do we use business as the largest and most powerful institution on the planet as a positive force, not a negative force. And you know, Eric and I started talking about cleaning products. I have a degree in chemical engineering, which was useful. And we just tried. We just started. I guess we didn't think about it that much. Let's go here. You've already asked a question, so we'll come back to you.
You mentioned previously that creative or design isn't a department, but how big is the design team?
Sorry?
How big is the design team at Method?
What do you mean by design team? Because I would argue that our entire product development team is the design team. That is kind of like one of the biggest points I want to make.
Exactly, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah. In product development in total, I would say we probably have 25.
And is that divided amongst like the industrial designers?
Yeah, so within that you're going to have our creative studio, graphic design, industrial design, you're going to have packaging, engineering, you're going to have chemistry, you're going to have greenskeeping, which is the sort of sustainability stuff, other stuff I'm forgetting as well.
And it works like a unit, everybody talks to each other. Is it cross-disciplinary in that sense?
Yeah, it's very, very much so. We kind of work in these little business units that we call pods, where you'll have one kind of person from each one of those areas kind of working together as a team. We divide that up by our hand wash, our hand business, our laundry business, and our cleaning business. They kind of work as little mini, kind of business teams. So, go here, and then if there's others, we'll keep going.
Just sort of following up on that question about your business model sort of being the essential part of what you're doing more so than the actual category that you're in. I'm wondering if you have seen any other companies that you feel like are currently using your business model.
I don't know that there's other companies, expressly using our business model. There are certainly a lot of other companies that I admire what they do. It's almost a cliche example in the sustainability space, but what Patagonia does is pretty amazing in terms of the level of not only work that they do, but the level of transparency that they give. I think some of the work that they're doing is amazing. There's also some other examples of companies that I just think have done a really good job of integrating sustainability and transparency into sort of the experience of the brand. And one that's pretty obscure, but I think kind of cool, is a brand competes with Patagonia called Icebreaker. It's a New Zealand company that makes things like Patagonia stuff, like outdoor gear, only from merino wool that's made in New Zealand. And on each one of their packages, they give you a little code, and you can take that code and type it in, and it'll take you directly to the farm and the farmer, or the shepherd, I guess, that where the wool for your garment sort of came from. And they also combine that with a really sort of edgy, sort of high fashion sort of aesthetic. And so there's lots of little examples of people like that that are doing really interesting things and kind of bringing that authenticity as a part of the brand experience. And that's the type of stuff that I get inspired by. That particular example is one I'm not able to do yet. I really want to be able to take you to the farm that grew the coconuts that ended up being the surfactant in our cleaner, but I can't do it yet. Is there one right here? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Do you think that the sustainable products are usually premium products, or you think that the price range will eventually come down?
I think sustainable products are usually more expensive. I don't think they're usually premium. And I think there's a really big difference. And it really goes back to that idea of sustainability as a part of quality. For a long, long time, greener products have just been products, around sacrifice. And for us, we won't launch anything unless it works as well as the mainstream stuff, not just the green stuff. The toilet bowl cleaner we talked about was one of the first products we wanted to launch. We didn't launch it for 8 years until we found a chemistry that would actually work as well as the nasty acids that are used in other stuff, but we're better. So, what I think is green is commoditizing as a feature of a product. You're already seeing this. I mentioned the Greenworks brand from Clorox. There was an article recently that talked about how that brand, which launched, I think, in 2008, if I have it right, in 2009, they were $100 million in business. In 2010, they were like 40. And their price premium went from 35% to 0. And so I think that's an example where, when you have a product that its only difference is it's a green alternative, there's very, very few people that are going to pay a premium for that. And ultimately, that's a really good thing. But probably the most simple way I would say it is in the future, I think premium will be green, but green won't be premium. Go right here.
It seems like it took a lot of balls to step up to Target. And in doing so, your company is blown up. And you seem like such a chill guy. Do you find difficulty in balancing all that? All these different traits, like being courageous and being humble and being confident?
Thank you. I don't know. I'm just, I guess, there's, for me, I am constantly thinking about the things we're not doing as well as we could be doing them. And that's like all I ever think about. And so maybe that's like why I just continually focused on, getting better. One of the things I often talk about at the business is that, this is sort of a personal philosophical point, but I don't believe in this idea of like striving to be your best or being the best. I think if you focus on winning, you'll never get there. You have to focus on the things you need to do in order to win. And that means, for me, it's about being the best at getting better. And if you're the best at getting better, you become the best. as long as you stay focused on what you need to do next in order to get better. And so that's kind of what drives me. Hopefully it's something we've integrated into the culture of the company, and it gives us a little bit more license to screw things up and then say, all right, that didn't work, let's try something else. So, is there one over here?
For Method in the future, like, what are the biggest challenges that you see for your company to reach your goals?
Yeah. So I think one of the challenges is how do we maintain what we're doing, the sort of method, the process of what we do while we grow in numbers and we grow in revenues. I think that's a big one. In a lot of ways, I think that our biggest threat is ourselves. And so that's what I kind of constantly think about. There are some threats of people that want to kind of come in and take our shelf space. And certainly a couple of years ago when everybody was launching their green brand and there was a fight for shelf space and the economy went to the toilet, that created a lot of challenges. But ultimately, I think if you stay focused on what you're really good at, you can navigate your way through those things. And we certainly had challenges and are have navigated and are still navigating our ways through that. But I think if you just kind of sort of stay focused on what makes you unique, then that usually prevails. Let's go over here.
Yeah, so you mentioned that the future of doing laundry doesn't necessarily involve detergents, or at least adding detergent to your machine.
Consuming.
And I was curious if, and I'm assuming that might be the same for dishwashers as well. Has there ever been a time where you've thought about diving into the appliance industry?
Yeah, what we've done, we're not going to make appliances anytime soon. What we have done is talk to the big appliance manufacturers to start to say, hey, when could we realize this type of thing? And they're thrilled about the idea because what's interesting in laundry is they hate the fact that the detergent usually gets all the credit for the cleaning when the machine actually has a lot to do with cleaning your clothes. They really do, right? And so they want a piece of that action. So I think it's more through a partnership than anything else to begin with, because the companies that make those machines are very, very large, and they're much better at making machines than we are. But I think there's a way to work together with, I think the key piece for us is you have to have a business that's willing to, the thing about sustainability is if you're truly committed to sustainability, you're truly committed to progress, because there is no sustainable product today. But yet the companies that dominate our markets have a disincentive to innovate. They'll incrementally innovate, but not radically, because radical innovation requires taking what makes you money today, 3X laundry detergent, and throwing it out the window, and replacing it with something greener, something better for consumers, but a lot less certain. And that actually runs afoul of even the most liberal of shareholder protections. It's something that a lot of incumbents can't do. And so for us, I think that business model that allows us to migrate from a product of consumption to one ultimately that's a product of service is sort of a really interesting model that I think that the more we innovate, I think the further ahead we'll get. Let's go here.
It seems like you guys focus on a B2C kind of model. Do you also do B2B? For instance, my roommate owns a laundromat, and he loves Tide. And I don't know if you would ever even consider
that. We haven't done B2B yet. We've had a ton of opportunities to do it. It's a really different business. And we could do it, and I'm sure we could do it pretty well. But it's really a matter of focus. The laundry detergent category alone is $5 billion. If we get one share point of that more, it's $50 million. And so it's really hard to say, okay, let's go do hotels, when if you just take the product that you've got and just try to win more and get more people to use it, that's a better business model. So I hope someday we're able to do the B2B stuff, but I think it'll be a little while because we gotta focus. There's a lot of people gunning for us.
B Corp setup that you guys have. That's
yeah. B Corporation is really about corporate governance, and it is about, I'll use an example. If you're one of my shareholders And I pay more for renewable energy rather than coal-fired energy. Technically, because I have fiduciary duty to you as a shareholder, you can sue me for paying too much, not maximizing your return as a shareholder for paying too much for energy. Now that doesn't happen at Method because we have people that are aligned with our mission. But what B Corporation's trying to do is create the legal structure that will allow fiduciaries to consider more than just financial terms in their decision making as a business. So you can weigh social and environmental factors along with financial ones, which is not something that you can currently do under current corporate structures. So the interesting thing is there's now 5 states where you can incorporate as a B corporation. California is one of them. They just passed that bill last week. So, yeah, they're here.
About how distributed your manufacturing is and how you see that playing a role in sustainability and where stuff's made.
Yeah, so we have an office in Chicago that manages, that has about 10 people in it that manages our supply infrastructure primarily. And we have 3 big manufacturing facilities. One's in Minneapolis, one's in Chicago, and one's in southern Indiana. And that is 99% plus of all of our product manufacturing. So components come from a lot of different places, but we manufacture centrally both for sustainability as well as just efficiency reasons.
Grows worldwide, do you see?
Well, like our UK business, we manufacture over in the UK as well. Not every product in the UK is manufactured in the UK. The model is we get it to a certain threshold and then manufacture it there. Cool. I think that's it. Thanks, everyone.